Given that it is Christmas, you're likely hearing a lot of videos, a lot of posts, a lot of things talking about the legendary World War I, or the Great War, Christmas Truce, which took place in the trenches along various sections of the Western Front during what at that time was the world's greatest conflict. And it's remarkable. It's this really heartwarming story, and it typically features a story of British and German soldiers. Those are usually the ones that are, and it supposedly was kind of initiated by the German side. They were singing Silent Night in German, and slowly the British began to sing back. And it's really heartwarming, and it's often portrayed as if this thing took place across the entire front, because it was the first Christmas of the war, and many people thought either the war would be over already or that it would be over shortly. And so the stalemate hadn't really dug in, and the slough that the war was becoming hadn't settled on the soldiers themselves, as well as the kind of command staff. And this kind of mythicized, or might say emphasized, maybe exaggerated into, as if every single soldier across the entire length of the front, from Belgium all the way down into the French Alps, all laid down their arms and showed this massive kind of display of humanity in the midst of the dishumanity of the war. And that's not quite true. We know the British and we know the Germans participated, and there's sporadic instances all the way down of different combatants doing this with the people that were on the opposite side. What's not portrayed, though, is in fact the French soldiers and the German soldiers didn't often participate in the event with one another. It was British and German, or it was French and Austria-Hungary, or and etc. But the deep-seated competition and hatred that the Germans and the French held for each other at this time, for various reasons, resulted in much more bitterness from side to side. And in fact, during this time, the two sides' alternative snipers actually used the sounds of the other trench singing to help locate and sight individuals to shoot them during that time. It's a lack of reported, maybe, fact about that instance, and it resulted in those areas the singing and all the things that we associate with that Christmas truce being forbidden and banned in that area. And it's also noticeable that the command staff, when they began to hear about the Christmas truce, they were all horrified by it. They weren't heartwarmed the way that we are reflecting on it, because they were too close to it. They often responded to it in a manner consistent with believing that their soldiers were either in the process of mutiny, or that they were displaying a lack of willingness to fight, or cowardice. And there were numerous acts of discipline carried out against the soldiers who did actually participate in the truce. It wouldn't be until after the war was already over and that people were reporting the story thereafter that this story of humanitarianism that we associate it with now began to take root about the truce. So a little bit of historical perspective on what is, quite frankly, one of the more interesting and controversial moments in world martial history. Merry Christmas.